Hi folks, this is Meredith from the Papery Craftery, and today is going to be the second in this year's holiday series. We're going to be using this 3-inch embroidery hoop, and we're going to be turning it into sort of a quilling paper wreath ornament. So here I have the embroidery hoop. It's very standard. You can get these in a pack of multiples if you want to make a lot of these. That is an option. For my quilling paper, I have 1/8 inch wide paper. You can use whatever green you like and whatever red you like. I have needle tool and slotted tool here. Choose whatever you like. And then maybe some tweezers. You'll want to choose your glues. I have Elmer's glue all in my needle nose container for making my quilling. But then when we get to putting it on the embroidery hoop, I do have some tacky glue. And then you're going to want to maybe grab a little bit of ribbon. We're going to put a little accent on our wreath. And then also some scissors. You're going to want to cut your ribbon with some scissors, whatever you like. So first, what we're going to be doing is making the greenery for our wreaths. And this is going to be pretty standard quilling shape. I'm going to show a variation on this at the end if you want to do something a little bit more advanced. But we're going to be making just your standard curved teardrops with our quilling paper. And I'm going to make them about 9 inches long. So I'm tearing this 18-inch strip of paper in half and then just rolling it on my needle tool from end to end. If you like the slotted tool, like I said in the beginning, that is your choice. You can use whatever you like for this project. If you want to use an automatic quilling tool as well, we're going to be making a lot of these. So that might also come in handy if you have one of those. So once you roll it all the way, take it off your tool, let it open up in your hands a bit, and then pinch one end. Once you glue that down, that is your teardrop shape. But because we want these a little bit curved, we're going to throw it across the table, but then we're going to push the pointed end around your tool, or you can use your finger if you like. We want just a slight bend at the top. Now, like I said, we're going to be making a whole lot of these. I think for the size embroidery hoop that I have here, I made about 50 of these, which sounds like a lot and can take a little bit of time, but it's such a simple shape. Once you get into the groove of it, it'll go really, really quickly. I actually made all of mine into teardrops and then curved them all at the same time to sort of assembly line type vibes. At this point, I am ready to start gluing on my embroidery hoop already. So I made a little pile of my tacky glue here. You can use regular tacky glue or the clear like I have. I'm just going to dip. You can use your tweezers if you want, but I'm just going to dip my shape right into my glue. And then starting wherever you like, because we're going to be doing the same thing all around the hoop, I'm putting my teardrop in and then kind of having the point come out a little bit towards the center. And then I'm going to do my next one. So this is why I'm trying not to put any glue on the pointed part, because that's not really going to hit too much of the hoop itself. And then we're just going to keep doing that all the way around the wreath. Now I just want you to notice that I still have, I'm not sure what that little metal piece is called, maybe a pin, the screw. I still have that on my embroidery hoop. What that's doing is holding the two wooden circles together. Because if you were using this for embroidery, you'd put your fabric between those and that would make it stay nice and tight. The reason I'm keeping all this together is because I want a little bit wider of a surface to keep my quilling on. The pin's not going to bother me. We're going to cover that up later on. So now I have my finished layer here. And you're probably saying that doesn't look like 50, and that's because it's not. We're going to be doing now the opposite direction with the rest of our shapes. So again, I put a little bit of glue in the widest part of that teardrop, using my tweezers now just to keep my fingers nice and clean. And now putting the widest part of the teardrop directly over the widest part of the layer below, but pointing the curved teardrop bit in the outside direction. So this is kind of really fill up this embroidery hoop wreath nicely and make it just look like a very full, kind of lush greenery, but with really simple quilling shapes. So I'm going to continue all the way around until I get back to the beginning. So now I'm just putting my last few on. You can see now it looks much more full. You can still see the wood from the hoop, but that is just part of the charm of this project. If you wanted to, you could always paint that as well. If you wanted it to kind of disappear a bit, you could paint it kind of a whatever greenish color of the quilling paper you chose. You could also, if that pin really does bother you, take it out, maybe try gluing the two hoops together from the bottom. I have made them without the pin, without gluing the two pieces of wood together, and that does sort of work, just gluing right on top of it. But it's not a guarantee. So if you're going to be using these year after year, I would either leave the pin in or glue the two pieces of the wreath together. But definitely the most secure option is leaving that pin in there. So now that we have all of our greenery on our leaf, we're going to add some berries. So I have a bit of red quilling paper here, and this is about 7 inches or so. You can vary these sizes if you want. We're going to be making a few of these. If you want just different sizes, you can do that. You can make small ones and sort of make little clusters. I am just making one here just to demo, and this is going to be a tight foil, which just means that instead of rolling your paper from end to end on your tool and then taking it off and letting it open up, you roll it end to end, hold it in place, and glue it while it's still on the tool without letting it open up at all. So this is just giving us a few little round berry type pieces here. So we're going to grab our little wreath back, and now we're just going to dip our little berries into our tacky glue here, and then place them here and there on our wreath form. And I like to put them kind of on the inside and on the outside. The outside gets a little tricky because you have to get some glue on the edge here, and sort of forgot that for a second and had to wondering why it wasn't sticking because there was nothing underneath it to glue to. So I had to spread the glue on the side a little bit there. Now that's fine. So I'm going to kind of go inside and outside all the way around. I am going to leave a little bit of space at the bottom because that's where that ribbon is going to come in that I showed earlier. So we'll put this one on the outside because it has some glue on the side, and then we'll put another one on the inside here. And normally I would do these in an odd number, so 5 berries or 7 berries. When I was making this video, I realized as I was spacing them out that I was going to end up with an even number, which isn't the end of the world. Odd numbers are just generally a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So don't stress out about it. If you start putting yours in, just make it so you like the way it looks. And that's going to be our last one there. And there we have it. Now you could just leave this as is, and the pin there could be sort of the top, just to give it a little bit of balance. What we are going to do is add some ribbon though. This is to sort of cover up the pin. It's not going to be a perfect solution, but it will sort of cover it up. And this is just, get whatever ribbon you like. This is about 1/2 inch wide. There's no wire or anything in this. This is just pretty floppy. And I'm just making a simple bow and then trying to make it as even as possible. So just generally making it look presentable. This is not the best ribbon for this, but it's what I had on hand just because it's sort of a very woven, it's got a really loose weave to it. So it wasn't very easy to get the sides to cooperate, but sometimes we work with what you have. And then these tails are just a little bit too long, so I'm going to snip those and it'll be ready to put on my wreath. Now the size of this bow fits a little bit more with the size of our wreath. Oh, maybe even a tiny bit smaller there. I had to grab a different pair of scissors because those little craft scissors were not cutting it. There we go. So now I'm really happy with the size of this little bow. So I'm going to place it at the bottom of the wreath, at the bottom of the embroidery hoop, so it can help with camouflaging the pin. There are other options. Like I said before, if you want the pin to be the top, that could work as well. In my mind, for some reason, this is the bottom of the wreath. You are absolutely welcome to turn this around, make the pin the top, and have the bow facing the other direction. Another thing you could do is use a little bit more ribbon as the hanger. That can go on this end, or you could use it on the bottom to help cover that pin also. So play around with whatever looks the best for you. This is just how I chose to make mine. Now I promise a variation, as I like to do. So here is another with a very similar idea, but instead of using the teardrops, it's using the holly leaves that I showed how to make in my video last week. I will link that in the description box of this video in case you missed it. But I show how to make these 6-pointed holly leaves. And I did the same thing that I did with the teardrops. It made 2 layers pointing in and pointing out. This time the bottom layer is pointing out though. That's just the way the sizing worked. And then a little bit of a bow in the same way and little clusters of smaller berries on this one. So you can use the same idea using a base of an embroidery hoop and switch up the shapes for whatever you like. You can even do these in different seasons and just do other flowers and with other greenery or whatever you like, but it's just a nice sturdy base to put quilling on, and then it will really last a long time. That tacky glue really helps the quilling stay on this wood. So there you have it. Like I said, it's a little bit of work because it's a lot of shapes, but they really do come together pretty quickly. As always, please leave any questions you have in the comment section. I will answer those as soon as I can. I'd also love to hear any other ideas you have for using the embroidery hoops with your quilling. Also, look in the description box for this video for links to all of the tools and supplies I used. Also a link to that holly video if you wanted to go that route. You'll also find a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can find some ways to get some quilling extras and also support the channel, which definitely helps it growing and helps me to make these videos week after week. So it's always greatly, greatly appreciated if you check that out. But in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be around for the next video, and I will see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.